Symposium. We have a lot more vendors this year. Got concessions. For those of you that's been here before, you know they've got great food in there. Indian tacos for lunch today. Great food. Raffle for the door prizes. We've got a lot of our door prizes sitting up here. We had a gentleman bring us a little banner for the Bigfoot Symposium. We're going to have all the speakers sign it, and then we'll have a special auction on that tomorrow, just because, you know, it'll be kind of a keepsake. Signing reports are being taken today, and also if you decide you want to join the MABRC, we do have membership apps, and we'll get you interviewed today and go from there. Okay. Hang on just a second, folks. My grandson stole the batteries out of my remote. That's why it's not working. The joys of having a 17-year-old with an Xbox in the house. Any of the MABRC folks got any AA batteries?
Yeah, I got a whole bunch.
I need two if you got them.
I got them, bud.
Yeah.
Okay, most important thing for tomorrow. Time goes forward an hour tonight, so we're opening the doors at 9 o'clock tomorrow. It'll actually be 8 o'clock to our biological clocks, but just want everybody to remember, time does go forward tonight, so that way you don't show up at 10 o'clock and we're already going full blast. So, go ahead and hit it again if you would. Okay, Saturday. We did have Robert Swain at 9 a.m. For those of you that know Robert Swain, he's head of the Arkansas Primate Evidence Society. He also does the Last Watch cartoons. He's having some issues with his health, so he wasn't going to be able to make it this time. So we're really hoping that he gets better faster. This opening presentation, I'll do another presentation right after this. Then we'll at 10, we'll have Sisters of the Moon. Then we're going to have Wild Blackburn at 11. At 12, we're going to have lunch, but we're going to play Legends of the Ozarks. It's an episode that the MABRC was involved in. We'll play that through lunch. 1, we'll have Paul Halsey. He's an MABRC member from Alabama. He'll go all the way up here to do a presentation. Then we have Mark Newell and Eric Tipton from, I need to say the Outlaws, right? Or Beast.
You know, you could just say researchers.
Okay. Pain in the butts, maybe? And then at 3 p.m. we have Shay Covington Montana with the Olympic Project. Then Jerry Heston at 4, and then we'll close right after Jerry. And then right after that, if you want to go on the night hike tonight, we have a little mini briefing right after the conference is over. Now, I will say this, with the rain like it is, we can't get everybody up in the valley. We're pretty sure that the creek is going to be too high to get across. But there's still plenty of area to set everybody out for a night hike and a listening post. Then immediately after the closing, like I said, and then tonight there'll be a fireside chat and a listening post down where the researchers are at the researchers.
Yeah, that was fun.
You want to hit it one more time? And once again, this is real important, y'all. Time goes forward. So. Thank you, sir. We want to string a grandson up when I get home. And on Sunday, just to let everybody know what we got going on. 9 a.m., which will be actually 8 a.m. to the old time. 9:30 we'll have the opening presentation. 10 we'll have Jim Whitehead do a presentation. 11 Randy Savage. They're both MABRC state directors. We'll have lunch. We'll have a town hall meeting, and I'll do a final presentation, and then we'll close the conference at 4. Somewhere between 1 and 4 we'll do the door prizes. And you don't have to be here to win. Tickets are on sale up here at the front door. It's $1 a ticket, 6 tickets for $5, 12 tickets for $10, and 25 for 20? Okay. So they got them up here, and you want to look at the prizes up here, we got all kinds. We even got some Bigfoot food. Now, if you look at the package, it's actually brown cotton candy, so. And of course, here's the, I think I got it. Okay. I got 10 for 13 tickets. So if you bought $10 worth of tickets, go back up there and get you another ticket. Dave, I got it down for 13 for $10 on tickets. So if they come back after they bought $10 worth, go ahead and give them one more ticket.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. This is from all of us, all the speakers, all the vendors. I should have added a few more groups on there, but I just didn't have the room to do it. So. Okay, who all was at the Arkansas Bigfoot Conference last year? Okay, you're going to recognize this presentation. It's the one I gave there, but since Robert had the, for lack of a better way of saying it, bail on us because he wasn't here, I had to throw one together. So I'm going to do this one again. Okay.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the the Great Depression, passed the the tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which raised or raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work as the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone? Anyone? Anyone seen this before? A laugh. Anyone know what this says? It says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue as at this point. This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
Okay, folks. Robert Swain told me I shouldn't be left unsupervised, period. I thought I'd put a lot of humor into my presentation because, you know, nothing knocking against my fellow presenters today, but, you know, there's some presentations that's just so dry, they walk through it, and they don't really put no effort into it. So, I decided I was going to do a little something different.
You sure?
We can get the thing in remote working. I'm going to talk about Bigfoot Lincoln logs. Basically, markers that you find out in the woods. Now, here is Stinky and Grumpy. They're two of my Bigfoot that runs around with us. when I said that they were going to get to play with Lincoln logs a little bit, they got on their little hard hats and got their construction gear out and decided to give it a go.
So people do leave. You have leads.
Now, who am I? I am the executive director of the MABRC, guys, put this event on. I'm also, man, I'm tongue-tied. Had to swim out at the camper this morning, so I'm still trying to recover. I wrote some Bigfoot how-to books and a book about my encounters. They're back here at the cast table if you want to look at them or maybe buy one. We would have had more books here, but Amazon screwed up my order. And said, oh, we'll get them here to you on the 11th. And it's like, I need them by the 9th or 10th, guys.
We got those last.
So I've been active in research since 1991. Out of 4,000 times in the woods, I've had 26 encounters. And that figures out to about 0.065% of the time that I'm in the woods, I've had an encounter. So when you say, man, 26 encounters, this guy, he runs into them every time he's out in the woods. No, not really. I'm actually on one of my longest dry spells. I haven't seen one since a year ago, last Memorial Day, I think is when the white one came across the trail. So, I think he wasn't with us,
You
was
were
he?
in the boat? Was that your last time, or did you?
No, when we were down at the,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, I was on there.
okay.
I'm never there when Bigfoot appears.
Well, that's good luck for us, I guess. Here are some of the books. There'll be some more eventually wrote. Talk about photo analysis, video analysis, audio analysis, marker analysis. Starting your own Bigfoot research. We got one book back there of that, and several of the Shadows of the Night, which talks about some of my personal Bigfoot encounters. Now, what am I going to talk about? Well, let me introduce this little guy first. This is Egbert. Egbert's sitting right up here. Now, we had a MABRC cookout, and I went to go get some stuff for the cookout, and when I come back, we just set this guy down, and my guys were like, hey, we come up with a great idea for a name. As a matter of fact, it was you that said it, Dave. You come up to me and told me, you said, we're going to call him Egbert. And I was like, what the heck are you guys smoking? You know, but that stuck. So this is Egbert. He's going to help me do the presentation. I'm going to talk about markers in the woods that many believe to be made by Bigfoot. What I talk about may get some researchers upset because I go against the curve on a lot of things. There's no credible evidence that Bigfoot creates any of these structures. And many can only assume that these structures are created by Bigfoot. Until we actually have solid proof, video, pictures of Bigfoot out there doing these little constructions, all we can do is assume and speculate that that's what they're doing. Words of wisdom, Renee DeHenden, he is a famous Bigfooter. Now he passed away here about, I believe 6 or 7 years ago, maybe a little longer, but he was skeptical about a lot of things. He says, I'm more skeptical today than I ever was before because I've seen so much bad evidence. To hell with beliefs, let's talk about facts. Now that's one thing that the MABRC has really emphasized is we talk about facts. I'll be doing a presentation tomorrow about evidence that we found in this area. Now, a lot of it, I can't tell you for sure a Bigfoot is in that picture or in that thermal video, but it goes along with what we do know about Bigfoot's, the way they do things at night. Now, of course, Egbert, he thought that Renee should run for president in 2020. So, and with all the clowns that we got trying to run in 2020, I'll vote for him. So, now, human Lincoln logs. I got to say this: if you're older than a millennial, you remember Lincoln logs, right? Everybody hold your hand up that remembers Lincoln logs. Who played with Lincoln logs? You know, they were a great idea. I used to build all kinds of things with it. Well, there we go. Egbert thinks he's going to go out in the woods with his chainsaw. Now, if Bigfoot uses a forest like their own personal Lincoln logs, you know, really think about the structures that they could really build with all the wood that they got out there. So, you know, I see pictures on Facebook of these little bitty structures about a foot high, and people are like, Bigfoot made that. Well, you know, when my grandson was 4 or 5 years old out in the woods with us, he'd sit there and construct these little structures like that all the time. You know, how can you say it's Bigfoot? Look at that. Now, what I'm going to talk about is teepees, tree bows, directional sticks, stick stacks, X formations, blinds, nests, bus stops, drum logs, tree breaks, and tree twists. I'd like to see somebody say that 10 times fast. Now, teepees. Of course, Egbert thought he's going to dress up in his little headgear there. So, teepees consist of 3 or more sticks propped up or weaved into each other. It has been speculated that teepees may serve as a territory marker for an individual and be an attempt to show how strong they are. Now this top teepee right here, I don't know if everybody knows the area hardly that well, but over towards Tahlequah, this is a 40-foot tall teepee that was constructed. It was on a game preserve, and that certain area was off limits to everybody. Now, I would have liked to have got up there and done more measurements, but I had to basically take pictures from a distance. This bottom one here is just about 5 miles to our to our west. And you could actually see the drag marks where they had to drag them up there and wedge them into place. 2 big men couldn't even budge them. That's how tight they were woven into each other. Now, can I say Bigfoot did it? No. But, you know, the thing is, I can't rule out that humans made it with equipment or, you know, 3 or 4 guys got out there and did it. But this is just examples of some of the stuff that we do come across. Tree bows. This was at the same location as the 40-foot teepee. And it was about 40 feet high at the center, and it's got 4 trees that are bent over and formed into a big tree bow. Now, when I told Egbert we was going to talk about tree bows, he got his archery set out, decided he was going to show everybody that he could shoot bow and arrow, but these are trees that are bent over and weaved together to make bow formation. Now, we have come across these where they're just a little cedar tree that has been bent over, jammed about 6 inches into the ground. All the bark and everything has been stripped off of it. So, I can't say Bigfoot made those. You know, more than likely a hunter did it. Maybe even somebody had a pop field out there. So, directional sticks. This is actually over here in Arkansas. And basically, we think that they use them to show directions. Just right over here, roughly about 2 miles, me and my stepson come across a large game trail. And as we got up on top of a hill, we seen all these sticks pointing downhill. So we walked over and we looked down and they were pointing towards the bridge. And we've had something slap the bottom of the bridge while we were sitting there on a night hike at night. You know, like, hey, you guys are, I can't get underneath this bridge and come back out with y'all up on top there. So, give me just a second. I gotta take my coat off. It's starting to get a little warm in here. Okay, so, you know, usually they're about 7 to 8 feet high. Now, there is a possibility that they're falling off the trees and landing where they're at. But until we see a Bigfoot actually put one up, all we can do is assume. Stick stacks. Now, this is something interesting. I tried to find an example of what I'm actually talking about. These are some that have been found around the country, but I've come across some where the sticks are just stacked up one on top of each other. Now, I can't say for sure what it is, you know, why they do that. I've actually been talking to some hunters that actually do that as a hunting blind, so they can sit behind it so the deer don't see them. But some of these are trees that have been dragged from quite a few distances and put into these V-shaped trees and create these stacks. Now, I can't say it was Bigfoot. You know, I don't think a couple of raccoons or a couple of squirrels is going to do something like that. So, you know, we can only assume that Bigfoot's doing it. X formations. Now, Egbert thought that I was talking about X marks the spot, so he got his map out, and of course he got lost. We had to send some guys out after him. These are large logs or sizable trees that are placed in an X out in the woods. Now, the thing is, some of them were brought in from other locations, so it's sometimes it's just not trees that fall on like that. It's been brought in and they've been wedged that way. Lines and nests, of course, Egbert, he found him a nest. He wanted to show what that was about, but he didn't like it when the mama bird come and fed him a worm. So lines and nests were still really open to debate. This one that you see right here, it's not really a good photo, but this tree had been bent over, and where all the branches and leaves were, it had been carved out inside, and it had been bent over a deer trail. And I could sit in there along with my wife and my grandson. We could all three fit in there with no problem. And the opening was right there on the trail where someone could just reach out and grab a deer as it went through. Like I said, I can't say it was Bigfoot. It was just weird that it was over a game trail, and that was the way it was set up. Bus stops. Big Jim, wherever he's at, his group first started talking about this. These are kind of like a blind placed along the road where a tallboy trail where the branches are broke off about 8 to 9 feet tall. And Big Jim speculated that what they were doing is they were hiding behind these blinds until the road was clear and then they'd run across. So we've actually found a couple of those around here. So can I say Bigfoot's making them, or somebody just making it to where they can hide from cars and throw rocks at them or whatever? You know. Okay, once again, my graphics ain't working. There's supposed to be Egbert standing there by the bus stop, and a bus come by and pick him up. So he decided to get his drum set out. These drum logs, this is from Vancouver, British Columbia. One of our researchers found these about 14 miles up on into the wilderness. And they were stripped, and all the bark had been beaten off the tree. This other log we found up here at Claremore, and the same thing with it. It had some sticks there along with the log, and it looked like it had been beat on. So I can't say Bigfoot did it, you know, but it was something interesting to say the least, especially since we suspect Bigfoot does wood knocks. Tree breaks. Of course, Egbert wanted to show off in front of his little girlfriend there, so he's breaking that stick. Now, a lot of times you'll see people post pictures of a tree break saying, oh man, this happened in my research area. Well, the thing is on tree breaks, we all know weather, like last night, it basically destroyed our tarps out here. There's always a chance that these things are going to, storms are going to come through and break sticks off and trees off and everything else. So I really don't go into much on Bigfoot does these. So, you know, there's probably a lot of researchers that will disagree with me, but I just don't put faith in it. Egbert just don't get the whole idea of what a tree twist is. This was actually cut off of a tree by one of our researchers up in Vancouver, British Columbia. She saved that as evidence. Something actually had taken and twisted the tree, and it had went and grown that way. So, can't say a Bigfoot did it, but it was really something to come across something like that in the woods. Project Marker, that's something that the MABRC started. What we did is we started identifying all the different markers and ways to measure it. We actually got guidelines for all our researchers on how to measure these tree structures and, you know, how to report it. we've actually started creating a database of markers, and we know basically all the ones in this area that we've located. Now, scent markers. This is something that we, one of our junior researchers, she came up with the idea, you know, hey, how does Bigfoot find these markers at night? Because a lot of times these markers are buried in underbrush. And she goes, you know, I work with dogs. I think that what they're doing is they're marking these with scent so they can find them at night. You know, are they peeing on them? Are they using musk scent? You know, what are they doing? But we've really been doing a lot of research on that, and if we can figure out a way that we can actually detect, you know, urine or whatever on these markers, we'd like to try to do that so we can verify if it's actually true. As you can tell, you probably can't see him, but there's a guy standing right there in the woods. Usually that's where we find these markers at, is in real deep, dense foliage like this. So how can Bigfoot see them at night? I don't know if you can see the same picture at night over here. But Bigfoot can't, I'm a firm believer that Bigfoot can see in the dark, or at least as well as everybody thinks he does. So, you know, they use this scent. As long as they get in the general area, they know that that's where it's at, and they go to it. Now, glyphs. There's a growing majority or minority of people in the Bigfoot community that is thinking that Bigfoot does glyphs. Well, Egbert says, I'm illiterate. I don't understand this crap. There's no proof that Bigfoot does this, and usually these glyphs are about this size. I mean, just little bitty things. I can't imagine Bigfoot out there putting these little sticks together when he's got better stuff to do. Upside down trees. There for a while there was a lot of discussion in the online Bigfoot community about these trees that have been jammed into the ground with their root balls up in the air. Well, a lot of people started attributing it to Bigfoot. I don't think Bigfoot would waste that much energy to do something like that. You know, I know it's boring probably sitting out in the woods all the time, but that would take a lot of strength and everything to try to do. There's no documentation exists to support that theory. Now, one thing that does support that theory is it's not made by Bigfoot, it's man-made. This is a logging company that decided to go and put a tree in the ground with the root ball up. So that just goes to show you, man will make structures. Rock stacks. Now, this little structure right here on the bottom, this is really something. It was found just right over here, about 3 miles. Where you at? Raise your hand, Dave. He had found a trap, and him and Big Jim were down here to borrow a thermal camera. And so David had found a track, and he wanted to mark it, so he put 3 rocks stacked on top of each other. Well, the next morning when he come back, or got up and looked at it, the rocks were moved into that position right there. And it was pretty close to their tent. And you guys had seen a juvenile earlier that night, didn't you? Yeah. So, can we say the juvenile did it? No, but I mean the fact that they didn't hear no vehicles come down there and it was just them 2 down there, you know, it's definitely one of those, dang, you know, could it have been. Now, the top rock structures, or the rock stack there, is usually done by hikers. Now, around here, Adair County is notorious for marijuana. You know, we take that with a grain of salt. When I went to the Army in '83, there was a gentleman there handing out uniforms, and he goes, I can tell exactly where you were born from your serial, or your Social Security. I'm like, okay. He goes, 512, you were born in Kansas. And I was like, yeah, but I actually live in Oklahoma. He goes, where at? I said, Stillwell, Oklahoma. He goes, oh man, that's some good dope from there. And I'm like, of all things to be known for. So, but you know, I actually was sitting over here at Lake Tenkiller. We was letting the kids swim. And this guy come walking by and he got over here to the edge and he started stacking a bunch of rocks up by the edge of the water. And I sit there and I watch him. I even took a couple of pictures of him just so I could show people later on that, hey, for whatever reason, this guy did a rock stack right there alongside the water's edge. I don't know why I wasn't going to go ask him. You know, I didn't want to make him think that I was weird or anything. Now, grass balls. Of course, he thought we was talking about a dance, so he went and got his little skirt on. These actually happened about 1.5 miles over here. The family had some sightings, so we went and set out with the family. And the mother kept getting hit and stuff by something. And of course, she was sitting there with her cell phone, so she was kind of lit up. And she got hit 3 or 4 times, so her son went over there with the flashlight and was looking. He thought it was a bug flying into his mom because she had that light on her. So he's going to kill it. Well, that's when he noticed that there was these little grass balls laying around her feet. So for the next 40 minutes, we kept getting pelted by these. And we kept watching to make sure, you know, nobody was playing a practical joke and throwing them at each other. But as we were all gathered around where we had them here on this little canvas table, we're all gathered around like this, and all of a sudden one comes landing right in the middle of us, over our heads. Can I say Bigfoot made these? No. I sure ain't going to say little people made it, but I will say this. Everybody that was there tried to recreate these grass balls, and nobody could. My grandson was about 7 or 8 at the time. I've raised my grandson since he's 4 months old, so when I refer to my grandson, he lives with me, and he don't get abused like he thinks he does. I buy him batteries all the time. But, you know, even at his young age, with his little hands, he couldn't build these. Tall boy trails. The gentleman you see here standing pointing up on the trail stands about 6'8", and he's having to reach up where sticks have been broken off on these trees on this trail. Something large has been walking down this trail and breaking the sticks off the trees at that height. Now, truthfully, yeah, it could have been a bunch of kids running down through there with sticks, you know, beating on trees and stuff. But you can see how well developed that trail is right there on this side. You can actually walk down these trails and see them pretty much out in the open. Now, can I say Bigfoot made these, or deer, or bear, or whatever? No, I can't, but we just call them tall boy trails because the trees are broken that high up. Now, I may sound like a broken record. There is no proof outside of a few witness reports that Bigfoot builds any of the structures shown in this presentation. All we can do is speculate and assume that something is in the woods that can make these. Always remember, when you assume something, you will make an ass of you and me. So, you know, by us assuming things, you know, it always comes back to bite us one way or another. Why am I skeptical? I see this stuff all the time. People is in it and say, hey, you know, I found this structure. Well, let's see. I think that's made by a human because they put a frame there for the door. You know, and I had one guy argue with me because every stick that was used on the structure, you could see where it had been whacked with a machete or an axe. You know, okay, Bigfoot's not going to be out there, you know, hacking away at this stuff. Yeah, now stuff like this. This guy was like, oh, I found this in the woods. Bigfoot did it. They knocked this tree down, they chewed through it, and I was like, no, I think that's probably a beaver that did that. Now, TV shows. I will say this, folks. If you come up to me and ask me what I think of Finding Bigfoot, Mountain Monsters, you know, most of those TV shows, stand to the side because I'm getting ready to spit on the ground. That's what I think about it. I have been in Legends of the Ozarks, which you'll get to see here at lunchtime. But I will say this, there is no way you can do legitimate research on these shows. So, now, seriously, who watches Mountain Monsters? Buck. They gave Buck a gun. Have you seen how many times Buck falls down? Now, we also got Matt Moneymaker for finding Bigfoot. I'm not a big fan of Matt Moneymaker because he thinks that he's the self-proclaimed expert on everything Bigfoot. He's actually said, I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot, but it was Bigfoot. Come on, dude. I have become pessimistic about the amount of garbage evidence that gets presented on Facebook and YouTube. Believe me, there's so much out there. I used to run a little thing on Facebook called Bigfoot Hoaxers Exposed 2.0, and we would take the information about a person that was hoaxing, put it there so everybody could see it. Well, this got to be where on a daily basis we're probably adding 20 people off of Facebook and YouTube on it because they put so much garbage out there. Evidence should be held to the same criteria that a criminal court of law is held to. Now, markers are a gray area in Bigfoot research. We can't actually say that they're creating them. You know, you do got to whittle down the list of what actually is out there that can make them. Now, the MABRC does have a evidence review board. If I bring in evidence, I turn it over to these guys and say, okay, what do you think? And if they think that it's a possible or probable Bigfoot that's doing it, you know, making audio or whatever, then the MABRC will stand behind that as possible and probable. You'll never hear us say a Bigfoot did this. You know, my guys, I kind of ride them pretty hard on that, and every time I mess up, they're sure to let me know, and I appreciate that. We had a standing thing where we didn't say Bigfoot on the radios, and I messed up one night, and I was like, there's a Bigfoot going across. And I got back to the campfire, and Big Jim looked at me, he goes, you know you broke your number one rule. I was like, "Hey." So, I'm lucky I didn't get shanghaied that night. Okay. Any questions? Well, if not, give me about 5 minutes and we'll get the next speakers up here because I'll have to load up their CD for them real quick and we'll go from there. So.